What's with you? Something you ate? You did the cooking again? Yeah, I know I always do the cooking around here. That isn't a state secret, Jersey guy. I'm just dreading the crow I'm gonna have to eat for counting these guys out of the playoffs way too early this season. Everybody's hands go up, way up, as the Nashville Predators defeat the Dallas Stars 1-0 in overtime, and they have defeated the Stars for the 5th and final time this season. UC Saros would stop all 28 shots he faced tonight for his 3rd shutout of the season. All 5 of the Preds' victories over the Stars have come either in overtime or in a shootout, with a team like the Stars chasing them down like a rabid dog in the standings. The Preds needed this victory and they went out and took it from them. Preds getting bodies back in the lineup just in time for a potential playoff run, with Forsberg and Brad Richardson returning to help alleviate the pressure on the forward line, and Alexander Carrier finally returned to take the pressure off of the depleted blue line. Through the first 5 minutes of the game, both teams are being physical, trying to set the tempo that they want set for the game. A-Haula drew a tripping penalty on, of all people, Antoine Khudobin, and that wouldn't be their only matchup tonight, but we'll get to that later. And even though the Preds didn't score in it, they showed a lot of promise that would carry on to later parts of the game, with having 3 shots and a lot of good looks on that first power play. A little bit later, Alexander Carrier would interfere with Joe Pavelski, so the Stars would get their first power play. And a good stat that has carried the Stars against the Preds this season, or lack thereof when they haven't been successful, that the Preds broadcast crew pointed out, is that the Stars actually have more power play goals than even strength goals against the Preds this season. So that would show why the Preds have been successful, because they have actually killed penalties against this team. If only they could carry that success against other teams this season. The Preds had the right mindset coming into this game, considering discipline, as they only gave the Stars 1 power play chance in the entire game. Later in the first, Robertson of the Stars would hit Josi into the board, and inadvertently Roman, it didn't look like it was on purpose, fell on the ice on his face, and he would have to leave the ice for a period of time, I'm assuming for concussion protocol. The last player any Preds fan wants to see leave the ice for the team in gold, other than UC Saros, no offense to Pekka, he's great, but he's older now and UC's a lot younger and fresher, would be the captain Roman Josi. And the teams would remain scoreless after 1. It's the start of the second period, and all of Preds Nation watching this game on TV, and all of Preds Nation in attendance, keeping an eye on the Preds bench, is hoping that their captain shall return. But not quite yet. But a little bit later, after a stoppage in play that had resulted in penalties off of a skirmish that sends Matt Benning, the Branson of the Preds, to the penalty box, along with Cagliano and Cuomo of the Stars, out in grand fashion saying, "I am back." From the Preds locker room comes Roman Josi, trying to will his team to victory in this game. And after a slight lull in that period, it seems to have worked. Roman Josi seems to have inspired his team. They're generating more chances, as leading up to that moment, the Stars did outshoot the Preds, and even though the Preds will eventually outshoot the Stars overall. Like it was meant to be, though, I wonder how many of us knew after 40 minutes just exactly where this game was going. Neither of these teams can score a goal, and we're still scoreless after 2. Just over a minute into the third period, Jamie Oleksiak pushes Luke Cunnin into Oleksiak's own goalie, Khudobin, and Cunnin has nowhere to go and knocks over Khudobin. No penalties, and fortunately, neither player is really too shooken up, so both players were able to remain in the game. Preds are very desperate to finally get their first lead of the game and have a few mad scrambles right in front of Khudobin in spurts, but just can't get it past him. At one point, Matt Duchene, with 2 Stars players on him, is able to backhand it out to Eric Branson, and if Eric Branson could just get a stick on it, that puck is going in, and instead it goes through his legs. With about 4.5 minutes left to go in regulation, the Preds and Stars are getting really feisty as each team tries to one-up the other to score the first goal. And it builds up enough that Jason Robertson cross-checks Gudbranson of the Preds, and Gudbranson goes down. But it's not just enough for the refs to call Jason Robertson for the cross-check. They also feel the need to call Gudbranson for the embellishment. I am sick and tired of this, NHL. Either it was worthy enough for Robertson to go off for the cross-check, or it was just a hockey play, and you should just be calling Gudbranson for the embellishment. Stop with the offsetting penalties. Neither team is able to score in a 4-on-4. Saros makes a great save on Kivranta of the Stars to keep the game scoreless, and we're off to overtime. Early in overtime, rush one way by the Stars, and then Roman Josi, trying to finally will this team to victory, carries the puck himself the other way, and he doesn't score, but he draws a penalty on Jason Robertson of the Stars again. Boy, did he have a bad game. I couldn't think of a better time than that moment for the Preds to finally score on the power play than in walk-off fashion. Unfortunately, though, the Preds wouldn't score on the power play, but as per the rule in NHL regular season overtime, when a penalty ends, the teams don't stop and go back to 3-on-3. No, play continues 4-on-4 once the player from the box has returned until the next whistle. And who needs a 3-on-3 overtime goal? Who needs a 4-on-3 overtime goal? Let's go to the old-fashioned way when the NHL first took players off of the ice in overtime. And 4-on-4, as just about a minute and a half left to go in overtime, Matthias Ekholm carries the puck in himself, and he drives behind Hudobin for the Stars as he finds, with two players on him right in front of Hudobin, Eric Haula taps it home, 1-0 Preds! Wow, this team just has Dallas's number the latter half of this season. Who would have thunk it that after seeing the Preds get smoked by the Stars in that early 2-game series in the regular season, that the Preds would go on to beat the Stars in 5 of the remaining 6 head-to-head matchups. The Preds are now done with Detroit, Tampa, Chicago, Florida, and now Dallas. They only now have bottom-feeding Columbus twice and Carolina twice to finish out the final 4 games of the schedule. So to recap the current standings, the Preds have played 52 games and have 58 points. The Stars have now played 51 games and have 55 points. The Stars are in Florida on Monday, Tampa on Wednesday and Friday, and then finish out the season Sunday and Monday next week in Chicago. At this point, I'm counting out Chicago from catching up to either Nashville or Dallas, so let's just focus on Dallas on the out-of-town scoreboard. With the quality of opponent that Nashville has in Columbus, I honestly think that Dallas is going to have to win at least 2, if not all 3 games they have this week before they play Chicago. If Nashville can win both games against Columbus, either in regulation, overtime, or in a shootout, I don't care. Just get 4 points, and I think we're good, PredsNation. Take a deep breath and enjoy your Sunday. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. You can find my social media by clicking on the channel name. Can you smell that? I love the smell of the NHL playoffs being just around the corner.